Support for the Leadoff on WGLT and WGLT.org comes from the Central Illinois Regional Airport, where travelers are one stop away from world destinations. Connections on Delta Airlines to Atlanta are available daily. Close, convenient, CIRA. More at CIRA.com.
Bloomington-Normal's South Asian Indians reflect on a political first in this presidential election season. It's one of the things you need to know to start your day for Tuesday, September 24th. I'm Ryan Denham, and this is WGLT's The Leadoff. Now let's lead off with a story about Illinois State University's Hispanic Heritage Month programming. Melissa Ellen has more.
The first talk in a series called Conversando entre nosotros, or Conversations Between Us, is today. ISU PhD candidate Edsel Cintron Gonzalez is kicking things off with a discussion on youth literature.
It's not just for kids. It's not just for entertainment. It is a genre where we learn about other people's histories and experiences in meaningful ways.
Cintron Gonzalez says the conversation will focus on the intersection between Latino identity and mental health in graphic novels. He says authors,
they're creating the conversations to stop the stigma and make it more safe, as in a safe space to talk about these issues and to normalize it.
Cintron Gonzalez says everyone should be able to find a little bit of themselves in the literature and in the program, even if they don't identify as a member of the Latino community.
Because in one way or another, we can feel empathy hearing other people's stories.
The talk will take place today at 4 p.m. in room 314 of Williams Hall, which is on Illinois State University's campus. Additional Hispanic Heritage Month events will take place between now and November 1st. There are 2 more in the Conversando series. For the Leadoff, I'm Melissa Ellen.
Here's some other stories we're following at the WGLT newsroom. The Peoria Planned Parenthood clinic that recently reopened after a firebombing is now offering in-clinic abortions. Planned Parenthood says adding surgical abortion will increase access to care in central Illinois by 11%. The Ecology Action Center in Normal is one of 2 Illinois groups to get grant funding from the newly established Rivian Foundation. And Illinois State University has announced it now has 2 officially licensed beers through Distill Brewery in Normal. One is the long-standing Redbird Ale. The other is a new beer called Battle Bird Lager. You can find more on these stories at WGLT.org. Both major parties with presidential tickets have a candidate or spouse of South Asian descent, both Kamala Harris and Usha Vance, the wife of Republican VP candidate J.D. Vance. We talked with 2 members of Bloomington-Normal's large Indian community to see how this political first in the U.S. changes their voices about representation. Arshena Shakara is a professor of graphic design at ISU and the creative director of Design Streak Studio at the Wansuk Kim College of Fine Arts. Her uncle, Sri Shandak, who is now retired, worked in energy and engineering. He's active in Bloomington-Normal's Indian community. Shakara and Shandak spoke with WGLT student reporter Paul Aguilar for the Democracy's Future podcast, a joint venture between WGLT and the Vedette. Shakara explains how she views the American dream through the lens of the upcoming election.
The American dream for an immigrant family, the American dream is is survival and success. So what does that mean? So how can each of us go beyond meeting our basic needs, right? To what does it mean to give to the community, give back to the country? Again, but both leaders are exemplary in doing that, I think, when I talk about South Asian leaderships. But then looking at women coming up and rising, so that's excellent, right? For all of the women, representation matters. And then as we look up to someone who's running and representing, so it's all of a sudden it just opens up new avenues that we thought would never exist. So that's kind of exciting to see. But then within our own ethnic minorities, when they are included in the narrative with dignity and respect, and not as super tokens, because we can be tokenized just for visibility. But then it's amazing to see this kind of representation happen. So I think it's change. And I think it's about time we see that change. And I assume our community is really proud to see a woman being represented or women being represented.
So do you see that having both candidates having South Asian representation, do you think this will lead to more political participation from the South Asian community running for political office in other ways?
I think I have to take you back for a moment to where we come from. And when I'm talking about the South Asian, and more particularly, I'm talking about India. And as you know, India is one of the largest democracy, and USA is one of the biggest democracy. We already have this perception, if I may say so, of what the democratic values are, how the democracies are working and not working, both in India and USA. So I would say that the South Asian community in general is quite involved in the electoral politics. They watch these debates and all of that with a great interest in it. However, I would not connect that to the ethnicity. I think they're looking at it what everybody else is looking at it, that if I get good education, I would like to get the opportunities to grow, and I would like to be safe. I would like that there is a social harmony. And also, there is a lot of awareness among the South Asians. Maybe that's a cultural issue coming from India, that we honor and respect the nature a lot.
What will it take to bring social harmony about, as you say?
One of the things I like to point out to you is that in the 6 decades that I watched the politics, I felt that the candidates were very visible up until the election time. But after the election, their coming down at the public level, I felt was a lot limited. As I compare that with the present Prime Minister of India, that he goes there into the rural areas, he meets people who were not generally recognized. They may not be highly educated, but they're doing something that's very valuable. And he reaches that out. So that brings a lot of connect between the leadership and the people. And I think we need to do that here.
That was Arshena Shakara and Sri Shandak of Bloomington speaking with WGLT student reporter Paul Aguilar. You can hear the rest of their conversation at WGLT.org. And before we let you go, the League of Women Voters of McLennan County will be hosting a free event focused on election security and misinformation with a guest speaker. That's tonight at 5:30 at Moses Montefiore Temple in Bloomington. And that's it for today. I'm Ryan Denham, and the show is produced by Rosalie Truback. You can subscribe to the Leadoff on the NPR app or wherever you get your podcasts.